We're at the Bengaluru International Exhibition Centre off Tumakuru Road. It covers 50 acres, and in a way the world is changing. That is a conference centre showing the usual use of this exhibition space, used for massive exhibitions. But now it is being converted into a COVID care centre to take care of asymptomatic patients who need to stay here. The capacity is for up to 10,000 beds in 5 different halls. Of course, not all 10,000 will be here initially. It'll just be a few hundred at first. But this repurposing of this massive convention centre for the use of COVID-19 asymptomatic patients. I've covered many events here. I've never come here wearing a mask and gloves, but the world is indeed changing. As this was a convention centre where meetings used to take place during the day, there was, of course, a lot of toilets. People could go to the toilet, but there were no showers as such, because, of course, nobody was actually expected to stay here. So now showers have been built, introduced for the use of patients. These are showers for female asymptomatic patients who come to stay here. These have been set up to cater to the needs of people staying here, as of course before there were only toilets, this being earlier just a convention centre. So as we enter one of these halls, we can see how this massive convention space has actually been repurposed with wards, with beds here. This entire huge hall repurposed for the care of asymptomatic COVID positive patients. A new use for this convention centre in the time of COVID-19. We're outside Hall 5, which is the biggest hall, which has in fact been converted into the COVID care centre. While the other halls may have the capacity of 1,000 beds or 1,200 beds, this hall has a capacity of 1,600 beds. Messages, of course: wear a mask every time you go out. And this is the entire hall. Hall number 5 ready for 1,600 patients. People geared up and ready for the patients that are actually coming here. A ladies' ward here. And if we look inside, we can see all the beds, fresh bedclothes, blankets, sheets, a fan also between the beds, ready for the influx of asymptomatic COVID-19 patients here at hall number 5 of BIEC, converted into a COVID care centre. This is one of the 2 dining halls. Each can seat about 320 patients at a time. So all laid out here for the asymptomatic patients who will be coming here after testing positive. Those who have no symptoms, asymptomatic patients, will be coming here. Dining hall, and also, to make sure they don't get bored, a recreation centre as well for these asymptomatic patients. You've got carom boards here, TVs to watch as well, as people who come here who are asymptomatic may be feeling perfectly fine, but you have to stay here, a way to help them pass the hours. This is the doffing area for doctors. And what is that? Well, after the doctors have been inside the ward, they will of course have been wearing their PPE kits, and there are a series of rooms here in which they actually take off those kits. They take off the kits and leave it here. Then they will actually move ahead. They're having dropped the PPE kits here. They then move on to actually take a bath. Those are for the men. These are for women doctors. After doffing the kits inside here, in places like this, they move on to the bathrooms, where they can actually have a bath inside these, wash thoroughly after their shift inside the wards, have a bath, and then leave. They leave to the outside. One of the wards here at this exhibition centre converted into a COVID care centre, beds ready for the influx of asymptomatic patients, a doctor's cabin in the ward as well. This is just one every single curtain along this entire huge corridor is a ward similar, with these dozens of beds ready to receive the influx of patients. As Bengaluru increases its numbers of COVID-19 patients, the state administration trying to cope with the increase in cases, this COVID care centre for asymptomatic patients, all ready to receive up to a maximum of 10,000 over the next several weeks. But I think the hope of everyone is that all 10,000 beds would not be required. With DM Kumar, Maya Sharma at the COVID Care Centre at Tumakuru Road for NDTV.